On October 21st, IBJ unveils the 2025 Women of Influence. Join us to celebrate Indy's most inspiring leaders and hear the powerful stories behind their success. Don't miss this moment. Register now at ibj.com/influence 2025.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Friday, October 10th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. Plymouth-based flight school Alpha Flight is expanding its training fleet with the purchase of several MA-1 Blue Jay aircraft from Florida-based Malloy Aircraft. Co-founder Dan Marone says the move will enhance pilot training and help address a growing shortage of qualified aviators.
Having a higher performance airplane that you typically will only see in the military will allow us to provide a higher level of training that we couldn't do in our current fleet. And a lot of what we do here are the basic stick and rudder skills. However, it still does not equip the pilot of today for what follows on in their career progression.
The school ordered 4 of the single-engine training planes set for delivery in 2029, making Alpha Flight the launch customer for Malloy's new platform. The Indiana State Board of Animal Health says a commercial duck farm in LaGrange County has been hit with the latest case of highly pathogenic avian influenza. The unidentified farm has a flock of more than 2,600 birds which have been placed in quarantine. It's the first case of bird flu in Indiana since May. Purdue University is set to spend $70 million to buy a 320-unit apartment building in downtown Indianapolis that will eventually be used for student housing. The university's Board of Trustees unanimously approved a plan to acquire the Canal Square apartments during its monthly meeting this morning. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
The third Indiana Creative Economy Summit is set to kick off at the Fishers Arts Center on Monday. The 2-day event is billed as a call to action to catalyze the growth and development of Indiana's creative industries. Organized by Indianapolis-based nonprofit Pattern, the summit will focus on how the state can elevate its creative economy through greater infrastructure, investment, and policy support. Pattern Executive Director Polina Osherov told Inside Indiana Business that organizers have learned a lot over the last 3 years of the summit.
The third year means that we have had enough of a timeline to identify ourselves to those people who are really interested in using the creative economy as an economic development tool. So a lot of the folks that are coming are really looking to be empowered with tools and quantitative and qualitative information to help them drive the creative economy in their regions and in their cities.
Pattern says Indiana's creative sector contributes more than $10.2 billion to the state's economy each year. Osherov said about 80% of Main Street businesses in Indiana were established by creative entrepreneurs, and she's excited to see what the state will do to help that. Indiana Landmarks is taking the first step toward revitalizing a historic building in Madison. The Historic Preservation Organization has acquired the Custer Cosby House with plans to stabilize the property by doing a complete exterior restoration of the building and add a 2-story addition before marketing the building to potential buyers who could rehabilitate the interior. The 2-story house was built in 1844 by carpenter Charles Custer and was later home to Charles Cosby, the first black elected official in Jefferson County. A timeline for the exterior work to be completed was not provided. For decades, the Elwood Fitness Center has been a staple on the Franklin College campus. Now, the space is undergoing a complete overhaul of the inside while protecting the exterior and architectural integrity of the building. Franklin President Carrie Prather.
Nearest and dearest to my heart is a resource for our students because I know they need this. But half of my heart says taking a building that is in disrepair, that reflects all of that history, I think is going to be one of the most important things we have done here. So that's why I say the project has a dual charm to it because it meets a resource need, but it also does justice to some history that is completely unique that we certainly don't want to lose.
The $9.5 million project includes a restored gymnasium and athletic offices, locker rooms, and support service on the lower level. Authentics founder Amy Brown is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
You know, the economy and the market are in a hairy place these days. It's up a lot, it's down a lot, it's sideways, and it seems on the hour there's breaking news coming out of all areas of the country. How do you get your head around that? How do you not go crazy in the process? I'm Peter Dunn. You may know me as Pete the Planner, IBJ columnist, and my job for years has been to help you understand your financial life better in context with everything else going on. So what am I encouraging you to do? Well, listen to the Pete the Planner Show. Yeah, it's a podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts, or simply listen at ibjpodcasts.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.